Islam Makhachev's beef with Michael Chandler right here. I mean, this one has been going absolutely insane on Twitter. I mean, first off, we got Michael Chandler going out there saying the hype around Islam Makhachev is really unwarranted, and honestly, Islam Makhachev should not be fighting for the belt right now. It's a little bit premature to be buying in on the hype since he's only beaten guys like Bobby Green and Dan Hooker in the UFC. But guess what? Islam Makhachev claps right back and he says, "Be quiet, shh. Michael Chandler, you've only beaten a guy on a 5-fight losing streak in Tony Ferguson and Dan Hooker, who is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Ali Abdelaziz chimes in as well, and he says, "Be quiet, Michael Chandler. Your last 2 wins inside of the UFC against guys with their last 10 fights going 1 win and 9 losses." So obviously, both Michael Chandler as well as Islam Makhachev haven't really had the best wins in the UFC's lightweight division on their way to a UFC title, because Chandler, who'd he beat? Tony Ferguson on a crazy losing streak. Dan Hooker was on a crazy losing streak. I mean, that was a pretty unwarranted title shot based off of the resume. Based off of skill, I mean, you could kind of warrant that Chandler should have been next in line for the title. But again, the same thing could be said for Islam Makhachev. His opponents recently were Bobby Green and Dan Hooker. Neither of those guys should be warranting of a UFC title shot, but he did them in such dominant fashion, just like Michael Chandler did with Dan Hooker in his UFC debut. So yes, the like notoriety across those wins, the ranks of those 2 wins of Michael Chandler's wins against Dan Hooker and against Tony Ferguson, like Islam's wins over Dan Hooker as well as Bobby Green, aren't the biggest names or the highest warranted wins to get you a title fight in the UFC's lightweight division. But I don't care. There's kind of comments you can make on both sides, whether you're a Chandler fan or whether you're an Islam Makhachev fan. But either way, let's have the fight happen. Michael Chandler, Islam Makhachev. I want to see the fight. Now, we have the beef going on here. We have the trash talk going on here with Islam and Michael Chandler. I want to see the fight. Chandler is fighting Dustin Poirier. If he can win that fight, knock out Dustin Poirier, win a 29-28 decision. And if Islam can go out there and beat Charles Oliveira, let's do it. Michael Chandler and Islam Makhachev. If Mateusz Gamrot beats Beneil Dariush, that is the fight we should make. Because I have like a little system right here. Say Islam beats Oliveira. Say Islam beats Oliveira, right? Chandler beats Poirier. Do Islam versus Michael Chandler. Do Poirier versus McGregor or something like that. I don't really care who McGregor fights. But then you have Beneil Dariush, Mateusz Gamrot. If Beneil Dariush can beat Mateusz Gamrot, whoever wins that one fights against Charles Oliveira, and we got Michael Chandler versus Islam Makhachev. We got Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush, and all things are good in the lightweight division, but I'm really not too sure if that's going to happen. But what do y'all think about the beef between Islam and Michael Chandler? Who would win a potential future title fight?